¿O está fe en la línea? Vale. Estamos, a ver. Vale, me veo. Soy yo de hace 20 segundos. Me voy a decir cosas al futuro. Good night, telespectacoders. I don't know how many people we are. Let me check. 9 watching. Woo! Okay, I'm gonna have to do this in English because I think there's some non-Spanish speaking people. If there's a problem with that, please let me know. And if there's no English speaking people, then we can do it in Spanish maybe. We have a 20-second delay, so the question and answer section is gonna be a little bit slow. It's strange to see oneself at 20 seconds in the past. Okay, well, no answers. I guess that's a good sign. Oh, TH4. He's from. I saw him in the club Tidal. Hello. Well, maybe then we shall start. Welcome to this humble workshop of Superfm. Es tut mir leid, ich spreche kein Deutsch. That's all I can say in German. Well, we're the Superfm Commando. We're with Ivan here, back here. He's controlling the chat, so he'll talk to me just in case I miss some questions. And today we're gonna go over the Superfm synth for Tidal Cycles, which I'm very proud that you're using. I'm very touched. And the Superfm synth, and I'm sure, as you might have guessed because you're very smart people, it's an FM synthesizer. And it would be nice to know if you're familiar with FM synth or if we have to do a small overview, because I'm going to use some terminology that's specific of FM synthesis. And if you're familiar with it, we'll go ahead, and if not, we'll just go make a quick overview so you can understand what I'm talking about. I'm just waiting for the answers. Huh? Super smart. Ramon, we have Ramon the troll. And sorry about the mask also, but we have to take some measures. Okay, well, Ramon, he doesn't know FM synthesis, so we'll just make an overview for him. The building block of FM synthesis, well, FM stands for frequency modulation, and its building block, it's the operator, or operador. I don't know really how to pronounce that in English correctly, because my English is not from Oxford. And the building block is the operator, which is just an oscillator with an envelope. Okay, Superfm, it's based in the Yamaha DX7 FM synthesizer from the 80s, and it had 6 operators. So Superfm has 6 operators, and all the parameters in the synth are named or are numbered because we have many parameters that are specific to each operator, so we had to put an index in them. But we'll see that later. The operators, As I said, they are just an oscillator. Usually, well, it can be any wave shape, but in Superfm they are sinusoidal waves. And we use them in one of two ways. We can use them to generate sound, then we call them a carrier. And we can use them to modulate other operators, and then we call them modulators. They can be used in, well, for both things at the same time. So we can use them to generate sound and to modulate another operator, one of the other 5 operators. When you can combine them in different ways, and depending on the configuration of the modulations and carriers, we generate what they are called algorithms. And there's a graphic representation for that. And it's something like that. Oh, hold on, let me take that console out. Okay, now it's clearer. Okay, so as you can see, there are 2 boxes here with a number in them. Each box is an operator. Okay, you should think about it as an oscillator. Okay, and here we have this would be a 2 operator FM synthesizer, one as a carrier and one as a modulator. And usually in algorithms, the graphical representation of algorithms, you would put the carrier at the bottom connected to an output, which would be around here. I don't know if you can see my mouse. I think you can. And on anything above that, it's a modulator. When a box is connected to another one underneath it, it's modulating its frequency. And there are different configurations, as I said, that you can make. And the Yamaha DX7 had 32 algorithms. And these are the graphics for the 32 algorithms of the DX7. In Superfm, though, we won't have algorithms. We'll generate them with the variables we use, with the different parameters. If I'm going too fast, please let me know, or let Ivan know, and he'll kick me in the head so I can slow down. Or if you don't understand anything and you just want to hear sound, say so. Let me see. Okay, so that should make it for the algorithms. In Superfm, by default, all 6 operators are carriers. So the algorithm would be algorithm number 32 without the feedback loop that you can see in operator number 6. So we can hear all of them. And it sounds like this. I hope it's not too loud. We made some sound test before and nobody got hurt, so we'll just try it. These are the 6 operators sounding at the same time and at the same frequency. And speaking of frequency, each operator can have a different frequency of the synth. So usually in Tidal Cycles, you change the frequency by different parameters. The one most used, I think it's N. At least that's the one I use the most when I use Tidal. And if I change that, you'll hear that the note will be changing. Okay. So let me ask Iván. ¿Está todo el mundo correcto? ¿No hay dudas ni nada? Iván.
Te voy a decir a ver, more or less everything has been already explained. A little bit about Superfm architecture, familiar with Max MSP, but nothing code base of the actual architecture hardware, which is Alicia.
Vale, pots anar apuntant una miqueta les preguntes i les fem al final?
Sí.
Vale. Sí. És només per saber si la gent em segueix o vaig una mica... Okay, sorry about that. We're just checking that we're all keeping up.
El volum de la veu, si el pots pujar
El volum de la veu.
Això diu el Ramon.
Okay. Let me... Is that good? Can you hear me now? If not, I can yell. Okay. So as I said, you change the frequency like you do in any other sound in Tidal, okay? And for simplicity's sake, we're gonna first mute all operators except one, okay? So we'll be using one carrier, and that's it, just one operator for the synth. Then we'll have amp2 set to 0. Okay, now we'll hear the same sound, but a bit quieter. Now we're just hearing operator number 1. If I'll just hit it again and change the other operators, and you'll see you'll hear that it gets louder because we'll get all 6 operators sounding. Okay. Hear the difference? Good. So as you can see, we convert any operator to carrier just by changing its amplitude. Okay, if I set this to 0.1, we'll hear it even quieter. But we can hear it, so it's a carrier. Can you hear me better now? The voice and the synth and everything? Let me crank up a little bit the audio. Okay. So, as I said, there's the frequency of the synth, just the note that it's playing. And then there's the frequency of each operator. But you don't set it with a fixed ratio, with a fixed frequency. You apply it a ratio to the base frequency. In the original DX7, you could set it to a fixed ratio, and it's good to create some nice harmonics, but I haven't implemented that here yet. I might in the future because I just discovered it. And to change the frequency of one operator, you apply a ratio to it, which is just a multiplier of the base frequency. By default, it's 1. So if I play this, it should sound the same as if in this I don't put it. Okay. Okay. You hear it's the same sound because there's no change in the frequency of the operator. Oh, ¿qué pasó? Sorry, my screen just blacked out. Okay. If I set it to 2, we'll hear it an octave higher. But since we're just hearing one operator, it is like if we were changing the synth operators. Oh, I think it's the regulars here. Okay, it's like if we did that. Here. That's because we're multiplying the base frequency of the synth times 2, and that makes an octave higher. We can set it to any float, and then this would be an octave and a fifth. Or we could set it an octave lower. Okay? Now, why would we want to do that? Because if we have more than one carrier with different ratios, we start to get different sounds. This will sound like a very basic Hammond synth because we're going to have 2 sine waves sounding at the same time, 2 carriers with different frequencies, one at the base frequency and one octave higher. If I change it, we'll get the base frequency again. I can put floats and then get even different sounds. If we put weird I don't know, numbers, we get weird sounds. Well, that wasn't very interesting. And if we set it to a very close frequency to the, well, between them, between the two carriers, then we'll hear a beating effect. If we set it to a very, oh no, that's later, sorry. Okay, so maybe what we would want is to create a Hammond sound. What we could do is apply different amplitudes to different carriers, and also, oh, sorry, I put, did I just change that? Well, I don't know. Yeah, this should have been a 2 all the way, I don't know. Sorry, as I stop. No. If we put different, sorry, I can't speak and write at the same time. Here what we have is 6 carriers, so algorithm 32 in the DX7, with different ratios. This will be 1 octave higher, the base frequency 1 octave higher. I think this is 2 octaves higher. Correct me if I'm wrong. If not, someone will correct me. Thanks, they told me that it sounded okay, although the code wasn't right. So this will have many harmonics, well, different sine waves at different rates, and it's like having, now I'll be changing the numbers as we hear it, and it will be like pulling the bars in a Hammond synth, changing the octaves and okay, that starts to get interesting. That's FM synthesis without modulation. It's the same as we had an analog synthesizer with 6 oscillators. Now we're gonna move to modulation, which is where things start to get really interesting. Okay. I hope you're following me. If not, please let me know and I'll try to explain things another way. So back to the beginning, we have just 1 carrier with base frequency. Okay. Now we want to modulate it. We want to change its frequency with another operator, and we'll use operator number 2. As you saw here, the syntax for any variable in Superfm, of any operator variable, I should say, it's the name of the variable, well, the name of the parameter you want to tweak, sorry, and an index. And the index, it's as you might have guessed already, is the operator number. Okay, so we have amplitude for operator number 1, amplitude for operator number 2, blah, blah, blah. The ratio followed the same syntax. Ratio for operator number 1, for operator number 2, and so on and so forth. Yoo-hoo. Now, for modulation, we use mod. And it has, as you see in the list here, it has 2 numbers. The first one is the carrier of the modulation, so the operator being modulated. And the second one is the one that we wanted to let me say that again. The first one is the carrier and will be the one modulated, and the second one is the modulator and will be modulator the first one. Okay, so here operator number 2 is modulating operator number 1, which is the algorithm we had here. Okay, this is the syntax for this algorithm here. And the value we put is the amplitude of modulation. It's not the frequency. When we set it to 1, it's normalized. We'll hear full modulation of operator number 2 to operator number 1. Okay? If I set it to 0, there will be no modulation, and we'll hear only operator number 1, because as you can see here, operator number 2 is muted. Okay? If I change it to 1 again, we'll hear it again. The higher the number, the sharper the sound. Although it's normalized, you can go over the scope of it. It won't clip or anything. Why mod 1 2 and not mod 2 1? Because I wanted to keep it consistent with the other modulators, with the other parameters. But someone came up with a different syntax, and it's in the forums. I'll link to you. I'll send a link to you later, because some people have come up with really slick syntax because I know this is kind of cumbersome and a bit confusing, but some people have fixed it and in Tidal, so you can just use their syntax. But well, we could I can show you that at the end maybe. So where were we? Modulation. So again, we're modulating 2 by operator number 1 with operator number 2, okay? And these are 2 operators with the same frequency. When I change the frequency of operator number 2 and I set it to a very slow frequency, remember that this is the ratio, which is multiplying the base frequency of the synth. So we're multiplying, I guess this is 60, the MIDI note 60, and I think the frequency is 265 or so, and we're just multiplying it by 0.05, which is very slow. We should hear now a vibrato. If we change the amplitude, we'll hear it more explicitly. Now you can hear the vibrato. So frequency modulation is just a fast vibrato. Okay, see, if I go increasing the value, there will be a point there, no, maybe, that starts to be in audio rate. Oh, there. This is one wave, 1 octave lower, modulating a wave at the same frequency. If I put it to 1, which is the default, we'll have the first sound we heard. Yeah, the H48. I know it's kind of confusing the order of the parameters. We can fix that actually, but maybe it's too late. I don't know. Okay. So we can change the frequency of the modulator to hear different. Then we get different harmonics. There's an explanation, a mathematical explanation, but I think I'll just avoid that because I don't quite understand it because I'm not a mathematician. Well, actually, I'm not a musician for that matter, but anyway. I just know that higher numbers get sharper sounds and lower numbers more beating ones, and they create really cool effects. Let me see. Okay. The ratio of the carrier and the modulator determine the timbres we hear. If they are the same frequency, we'll get a sawtooth wave, more or less. If we double it, well, it's the one we've been hearing. If we double the frequency of the modulator, we'll hear a pulse wave. That's all I know about FM. Anything other than that, it gets wild. When you have simple ratios, like with whole numbers, you get harmonic sounds. So we can just keep changing this. And we'll always get harmonics. Once we start putting floats, we get inharmonics, more metallic sounds. And that just with two operators. If we add them together, we put two carriers with two modulators. So here now we're gonna have two sawtooth waves, okay, at the same frequency. It's a double saw wave because we have two carriers, which are number 1 and 3, and two modulators. Well, oh no, sorry, that's it. Oop. Forgot this. Now we have two sawtooth waves. If we offset this one a little bit, we'll get like a prophet sound. And now we'll generate a double square wave. As you can see, with very little changes, the sound changes drastically. And if you put that into patterns, it just goes nuts. We can also modulate, what we did there was, I think, no, I don't have an example for that. What we can also do is stack modulators one upon the other. So it will be something like this. We have carrier number 1, which will generate the sound, and it's going to be modulated by number 2, which is it's going to be modulated by number 3. And we do that by, well, we just get rid of the ratios to make it easier to understand. No, the modulations, we need them. Mod 1, 2 will be 1. This won't be a carrier, will be a modulator. And modulator number 2 will be modulated by operator number 3. Yeah. Ashok says that the syntax is backwards, just like in Tidal. Thank you. They saved me. Actually, I did it for you because of that. Okay, so this is one sawtooth wave with a modulator. If I set this to 0, it will have like a filtered effect. It will have the same sawtooth wave we had at the beginning. Okay, if I mute this, we'll have the sine wave of the carrier. If now I modulate operator number 2, what do you think it will happen? Nothing, because operator number 2, it's a modulator, it's not a carrier, so we cannot hear it. And since it's not modulating operator number 1, we just can't hear it. Now if I apply it I set it to modulate operator number 1, we'll hear it. Okay. We can also make modulators modulate different carriers. So if I have, let's say, 2 carriers, 1 and 3, just like we had before, but before we had 4 modulate number 3, and now we have operator number 2 modulating both 1 and 3 at the same time. Okay? So if I change the ratio of number 2, we'll change the sound of both operators. We can have it also have one carrier being modulated by 2 operators. How would that be? 3 is a modulator again, it's not a carrier, and it's modulating both 2 and 3 are modulating operator number 1. Now, as you remember, when I muted number 2, we didn't hear any modulation, but now we will, because 3 is modulating number 1. So actually this and this is the same, but if we change the ratio of number 2, for example, it's not going to be the same sound. We'll get one saw wave with one and a pulse wave with the other. If we put both, I don't know what will happen, but it's like having a Schulz wave. I don't know, how would you call that? Okay. So you might think that that's all about modulation, but no, there's one more thing. Because we have still another combination that's modulator, an operator modulating itself. When I put it like this, it should create feedback. It's remember the number 6 in algorithm number 32? That's well, that's what this would be, but in operator number 1. But when we play this, we cannot hear any feedback because there's a global parameter that I think I should have set by default to 1, but somehow I set it to 0 by default, because in the synths usually it's set to 0. In the DX7, I think by default you had it to set it explicitly to 1. And now you'll hear the feedback effect. So if I set this to 0, we don't hear it. If I set this to 0, we don't hear it. They have to be both at more than 1. More than 0, sorry. Does it make sense, everything I'm saying, or I'm just you're all having a beer and I'm talking to myself? Obviously, if we want to have any other operator modulating itself, we just set it to modulate itself. Okay, so here this should be a carrier. Now we can have feedback in the sine wave. And you can apply that to a modulator. So this, I think, would be, let me see, yeah. This would be the graph on the left. Okay, so we have one carrier, which is number 1. Number 2 is a modulator because we cannot hear it. Then it's number 1 is modulated by number 2, and number 2 is modulating itself. If I set the ratio of 2 to a very low frequency, we get a nice bass. If we get it to a high number, we'll get a bright sound. And if we crank the feedback really up, we'll start to get noise. Okay. Now we could hear the sine wave of operator number 1 as well, but if we just set this to a carrier, the feedback to a carrier, we'll hear a white noise. Okay. Hope that makes sense. Now, why do we have a feedback parameter if we can just modulate them like that? Because if I have two oscillators modulating themselves, sorry, if they are in feedback, and we have them at different values, let's say like this, and we have ratio is 0 now. We have them like this. With this one, we can modulate all of them. So this I'm increasing the feedback of all the operators that are modulating themselves. It was just a convenience for expression, I think. That's why I made it. And the graph on the right would be like this. Operator number 2 is modulating operator number 1, and operator number 1 is modulating operator number 2. But they sound quite similar. Okay? And I think that's all about modulation. But well, I didn't go into depth about the harmonics you get. Is sorry, th4 is asking if feedback is a multiplier on mod and no, it's amplitude. It's like the other mods. The multiplier is feedback. So if you have a mod 1 feedback is multiplying the amplitude, but this is the amplitude of the modulation. Okay, now to an even more complex parameter, a list of parameters, which is, I hope, well, this I've been rehearsing this and trying to explain the envelopes in quite a few ways. I hope it makes sense because it's kind of weird to explain. Well, at least it is for me. So I'll do my best. Please excuse me if I don't make myself too clear. So I suppose you're familiar with Tidal Cycles envelopes: attack, decay, sustain, and release. Okay, this is the ADSR envelope, which is typical of synths in general, and it's represented like this. Okay, there's a time of attack to a peak in amplitude of the sound, then a decay to a sustained amplitude, and a time of decay, so the time it takes from the peak to the sustained level. And then the sustained level, if it was a keyboard, you'd be pressing the key at the beginning of the attack and releasing it at the beginning of release. So when you press the key, it goes all the way to the peak, then it decays, and it stays in the sustained level as long as you have the key pressed. Once you release it, it starts to fade away, and that's the release time, the time it takes from when you release it until it fades away. Okay, until you can stop hearing the sound. Why I'm explaining this, that I'm sure you all know, by the way, because every operator in the synth, each one of the 6 operators has an envelope. It's independent envelope, but it's not an ADSR envelope. It's a 4-stage envelope. And this is when it can get a little bit confusing. There's just 2 types of values, rate and level. Okay. Here, as you can see, EG rate 1, EG stands for envelope generator. EG rate 1 is the time it takes from the 0 to EG level 1, which is just an amplitude value, okay, of the sound. So it would be the time it takes from when you hit the key, when you trigger it, until a value you put in level 1. So it would be corresponding to the attack. Okay. EG level 1 doesn't exist in ADSR. So EG rate 1 is attack. EG rate 2 is decay. EG rate 4 is release. And the only value, the amplitude value you have in ADSR is sustain, which would correspond to both EG level 2 and EG level 3. Because if you change sustain, they both change. They would be the same value. Are you following me? I think I'm getting lost myself. But okay. So why is that useful? Because then you can create your own wave shapes. It doesn't have to be an ADSR. We could put EG level at a low value, EG level 1, sorry, and then EG level 2 in a high peak, then EG level 3 even higher, and even EG level 4 to a higher. I know there's some use for that in EG4, EG level 4, but I'm not sure why it's useful yet. But I just put it because it was in the model. Niklas says that in his mind those were always the same, but what, the two kinds of envelopes? So how does this correspond to Tidal? We have, to make a crescendo, usually you'd put an attack value, okay? Maybe if you want it slow, you'd put a large value, because it's, well, I won't say why. You just do it. Here, if you want a crescendo, following the same syntax as before, I know this is going to be very, very confusing. The first index, it's again the operator, okay? And the second one is the stage of the envelope. I know yesterday while I was going over it, I just realized that this should have been reversed, but it's there. Sorry about that. So I'm sure you'll always remember it now. And so we have EG level 1, no, EG rate 1, sorry. That's attack. For stage 1, okay? Operator number 1. ¿Qué pasa aquí? Operator number 1, stage 1, okay? By default, it's 100. So we hear a fast attack. Why is it 100 when usually in ADSR it's 0.001 or something like that? Because this is rate, and it's the speed at which it goes. So if you go at 100 kilometers per hour, you're going faster than if you go at 1 kilometer per hour, okay? And this again could have been just following the usual ADSR thinking, but since it's FM and in the Yamaha DX7 it's stated like this, I just decided to stick with it. Okay, so to make a slow crescendo, we'd put maybe 1. Let's hear it if it's crescendo. Yeah, but maybe if I put it slower, there you go. Okay, now it goes all the way to 1 because each level, well, actually all levels are set to 1 except level 4, which is 0 by default. If I put it to 10, it will be faster. Yeah, actually, Niklas, the envelope, I put the same shape just to make it to have something to grasp on. The fourth stage, the same shape as the ADSR, but it doesn't have to be. It's just one of the many configurations. So this is a fast attack again. Okay. Now, since EG level 1 is set to 1, we'll just leave it like that. it will go all the way to 1, and then if we put e.g. level 2, e.g. level 2, remember this is the stage, but this is the operator, so this would be the envelope of the first operator. We set it to 0.1, it will be almost at the same level as e.g. level 4. And it will go up and then down instead of just staying up. Can you hear it going down and then up again? That's because e.g. level 3 is set to 1 also. So let me put it to the same level. This is like having sustain in an ADSR at 0.1. If I put a slow attack, maybe it's too slow. Hard to find a value here. Let me put a slower sound. I should do a crescendo then. Yeah, it goes all the way up and then down again. Okay, so it goes like this. First it goes up, then it goes down and stays down, and then it releases. If I set 3 to level 3 to 1 again, it will go up to 1, which is e.g. level 1. Okay? Go down to e.g. level 2. Go up again to e.g. level 3, which is set back to 1. Now they are 1 and 2 are both set at 0.1. If I raise, let me try it. Be something like this. Okay? Whoop. No. Okay, something like this. In the first one we had let's see if we can do it now. The first one we had started at 0, going up to 1. No, sorry. Started to 0, going up to 1. 2.1, 0.1, 0. Here is 0, 1, 0.1, 1, 0. Are you following it? Good for you. Okay. So you get the idea, I hope. But why is it useful? Why do we want this? Because let me put the same envelope in operator number 2. And then modulate operator number 1 with operator number 2. And then set the ratio of operator number 2 to 0.25. Okay? And this one I'll put to 0.5. Let's hear this. And also AG rate to 3. There. Can you hear the difference? The sound is changing. So this is just one trigger. I added feedback because with this sound it's clearer. Okay. This is a fast attack. You hear the modulation going up? This sound sounds pretty good at low octaves. Now the modulation is a fast attack, then it goes to 1, so we only hear operator number 1, and then it goes all the way past the level 1 of the modulations. So we are distorting it. Let me put some reverb. If I put a fast cycle, the envelope will just tighten, okay? So let's say, well, now we can just play normal speed. You get the idea. What else? So that was envelopes. Did I explain myself, or is there something you want to clarify? So I'm waiting the 20-second delay for any questions. Probably not the X7. No sé, han passat els 20 segons? Okay, no questions? Good. That's either because you understand everything or you don't understand anything. Anyway. I'm going to have to see this part again. Oh, okay. Yeah, I see that.
There's people that is, so I'm curious to see how the envelope works in Superfm.
Yeah, that was before, I think, before we started. Yeah. Okay. So only Lina is a bit lost. Okay, you can rewind like a VHS. VHS. Okay. Two more things I think that are left. There besides, well, that's all there is to operators parameters. Okay. Now we have very few global parameters. One of them is, well, let me recover what we had before. I wanted to recover this because there are two other parameters, which are it's an LFO for vibrato, but I said before that we could do vibrato by setting the frequency ratio of any modulator to a very slow frequency. But this vibrato is for the whole synth, so it would be affecting the bass frequency. Okay, and it would affect all the operators. So if I set it to a very slow, to a very mild amplitude and a very slow frequency, we'll hear the vibrato, I hope. You hear it? That's the broken ambulance coming to rescue us from COVID. Okay, so that's just a regular vibrato. Actually, it's an LFO affecting pitch, and that's it. And the frequency here is the frequency of the LFO, and depth is the amplitude. So if you set it to it's normalized also. If you set it to 1, you'll either have you'll have a huge range. If you set it to very small values, you'll get a more mild effect. And you might say, can we save presets for this? Because if I make my own synth, well, you can't. Sorry, you'll have to just make a gist or something. But there are a few presets here. One thing though, they are not any recognizable presets that I grabbed somewhere and added here. I might do that because the time I did this, I just had discovered FM synthesis, and I was using Tidal at the time, so that's why I developed this synth. And I wanted to play Tidal with an FM synth, play FM synth, an FM synth with Tidal. And well, I didn't know how to do any presets. I didn't know how to synthesize sounds or FM or anything. So what I did is just set 5 random presets, but they are not always the same. Each time you start SuperDirt in Super Collider, for each time you start the session, you'll get a different 5 presets. And I don't know which ones I'll have now because I haven't played them yet. So they are stored in the voice parameter that it's common to other Tidal synths or Tidal sounds. So let's hear the first preset. Octave, yeah. That's a very low one, isn't it? Oh, sorry. For this, it's better to not have this. Because we had muted, you can manipulate the operators, because it's like, actually it's more like 5 random algorithms with some set parameters. I like this one. Let's see number 2. variables. Wait a second, I'll explain them right away. I had to do it at the beginning, but I forgot. I'll do it right away. So this is preset number 2, preset number 3. I'm playing them slow because then we can hear the envelopes very well, but we could play them fast. Nice. How about the other two? Ooh. Okay. Let's hear the 4th preset. Hello? Oh. Dreamy. Okay, let's hear number 5. Sounds familiar. Oh, I like the envelope in that one. Okay, so these are the 5 presets. Number 0 is yours, is the one we've been using so far during the whole tutorial. Okay, and now it just 6 sinusoidal waves at ratio 1. And I think that's it for the Superfm. Eloy was asking about variables. There's I put just a second. Ivan, he posat el link del file en a Telegram.
Val, el post.
En el nostre, en el Gatitos.
Val, el post. Espera. Ah, gatitos. Ahora el post. Espera. Gatitos.
Hi ha un que és un... No, deu estar baix de... Ah, no és aquest? Sí.
Sí.
El GIST. Vale.
Ara el post.
Vale. So I created a GIST with all the variables, but as someone stated before, in the there's a thread in Tidal Club in the forum it's named Superfm, and there's I posted the list of all the variables, but in this link that the chat is sending, Ivan is sending in the chat. You'll find all the variables. You have to execute that at the beginning. Okay, so when you start the session, you start SuperDirt, or well, whenever you put Tidal, you just evaluate those, and it's something like this. I have them here. Hello. So it's looks something like this. These are all the variables in Superfm. Okay. You can put those. Oh, look, I forgot one. Okay. You can put this in your boot Tidal HS, but I think someone mentioned that they would be integrating them by default. But in that same thread, and that I posted the variables, is where other people posted other configurations for or other declarations with a different syntax, which is much clearer than mine. And I really appreciate that, because I was trying to do it and I don't know Haskell, and I just didn't know how to do it. And the syntax they made, it's really, really cool. So look, I'll try to find it. This is, I put in the chat, I put the link to the thread in the forum. And there you can, instead of evaluating these variables, you can evaluate the ones they're setting there and use them. Use those, of course, because if you declare those and then if you declare those or evaluate those and then use mine, it will work. Actually, I think you could even declare both, but I wouldn't do it, just in case. Okay, so back to where we were. I saw that I forgot one parameter for operators, which is which is the tune. And what it does, it's what it stays. It's what it says. It detunes each operator. So if I have two operators at the same frequency, okay, 1 and 2 carriers, and I detune number 1 or number 2 by 1 hertz. The unit is hertz. So this will be 1 hertz higher than or faster for operator number 2 than 1. Okay. I said before that I didn't implement a fixed frequency for each operator, but I guess you could do this to... no, because it will change. Well, if you set the ratio to 1... No, because in the fixed frequency it's independent from the note you play, so it wouldn't work. Because this will be higher or lower to the base frequency of the synth. This I don't know if this is the same or not. Okay. So I think that's it. Now, if you want, we can open the questions and answers section. It's missing LFO depth? No, I don't think so. Well, but is it? Let me check. Oh, sorry. You're right. It's missing them. Okay, I'll add them to not now because it would take a while. But thanks for noting. I'm a bit scared of not having any questions because that means I didn't do it very well. The thing I would do with this synth is just experiment. See, knowing the basics, which is what I just told you, is experiment with ratios, especially to get different timbres and also amplitudes. I like to play with patterning amplitudes, like muting sometimes the operators, and then with modulations as well. Then you get with just one synth, you get a whole range of different sounds, very interesting sounds. Ramon is asking if any recommendations about using Superfm. Well, just I think what I just said would do it, no? Yeah. Lina says we have to test a bit. Yeah, I think that's the best way. I would start with just maybe one or two, well, two operators modulating in themselves and playing with that, then adding another pair or something like that, or just one more modulator. Oh, well, actually, you can use modulation. So I can have a modulator number 2 modulating number 1, modulator number 2 modulating number 3, then modulating number 2, modulating itself, modulating number, let me see, number 3, modulating number 1, modulating number 2 with 5, and just, I don't know, play with that. One combination that I like a lot is this one. Let me see if I can remember it. This one is the same. I think it's the one I use for FM bass that Ramon has used sometime. Can we mod the preset voices? I'm not sure. You should try. I think you can, because you can mute the amp parameter works with that. So I guess you can change ratios, because they have set ratios, but if you override them, it's just like a boot state. Manipulating some parameters first or something like that to obtain interesting sounds. Yeah, that's what I would do. The tutorial was very clear in my opinion, but I have a lot to learn, discover. Well, thank you, and yes, you do. So do I, by the way. Could you talk about modulating modulators? If I understand correctly, that is possible. Yeah, that's the basic idea. It's the stack. This is number 3. It's modulating number 2, and number 2 is modulating number 1. If I mute 2, let me restate that. So I have modulator number 3. No, sorry. Mod 1 by 2, mod 2 by 3. Okay, this would be the stack. If I mute, if I take away the modulation of number 2 to number 1, we'll just hear number 1, no modulation at all. Okay, there's no difference between this and this. But here you'll hear a difference in sound, because here I'm taking away the modulation of the modulated modulation. Is that what you were asking? Using, I don't think I understand this question. Using tidal samples as partials for the attack? You mean wave shaping the amplitude with the sound of another sound? Or using the sound, another, say, a sample to modulate the amplitude? Or I was asking Kit Christopher that is asking, is it possible to use tidal samples as partials for the attack? But I don't know what you mean by partials for the attack. Could you clarify? Let me put the camera back. They use samples as the initial attack sound? But you mean like sampled sounds, or well, actually, I don't know why I asked, because I don't know the answer. if you answer yes or no, I don't know the answer. So we'll have to find out. I wish this delay was shorter. Well, okay. Well, to oh, well, actually, that might be true. Well, I'm sure it is, but I never heard of it, so I'll have to dig deeper. Thank you for stating it. I'll look it up. If there is time, could you also see here? Yeah, sure. A demo they're asking for. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say as Ramon said, the FM bass synth. It's a preset I just came up with playing around, and it's something like this. Uh, love this. Petarreta o pedorreta. or something like that. Mr. Bungle, yeah. Well, I don't know. I just didn't know what well, yeah, more or less I knew what I was doing, but know what I was expecting. So it just came out as it did. So I don't know. Maybe we should call it a day. Oh, it's 8:30. We have to run because there's curfew here, so we have to be home in an hour and a half, and we still have to pack. So I really enjoyed it today. It's my first tutorial, so I hope you enjoyed it. Dankeschön. Bitteschön. I had lots of fun, so hopefully we can make more. And well, if you have any questions, I'll be more than glad to answer them by whatever means you send them. Mail, baby, with a nice stamp. I'll leave a note at my door. Thanks, Kid Christopher. Thanks, Elisiuk and Sebastian and Bernard and Lena. Oh well, I must say this in this channel next week we're gonna have Ivan Paz, which is let me show you the backstage. Ivan, say hello. There he is. Yoo-hoo! Superfm Commando. As I said, next week we're gonna have Ivan streaming, explaining his live coding techniques and knowledge. And we'll also have Ramon Quebrantahuesos, who is a Tidal user. Ivan is using Super Collider, I think, no? Next day? Next Wednesday, is it? Or Thursday? When is it? No, it's Thursday, no?
It's on
The 12th? Yeah, Thursday. Next Thursday. I think I'm saying it right now because it's Thursday next week. And we'll have Ivan and Ramon explaining their things, their live coding things, and well, here I think it will be the same live channel and everything that we're streaming this. So explaining some jokes. ¿Saben aquel que diu que era Ramon que hacía live coding? Well, thank you everybody. Stay safe and healthy.